Sing a BTS song.
No, I don't know.
What does BTS even stand for?
Behind the scenes, I think. I don't know. I'm not a stan.
Oh, okay.
I just like K-pop, but I'm not part of the BTS army.
You just like them sinking into the news roll. All right, what's up, y'all? This is
Anyways.
the event. We're your hosts, Shane and AJ, and this is episode number 20. Ooh. Number 2021. Next one will be 21 of the Liquidity event. Today's date is December 8th, 2021. What's going on, AJ?
Oh, not much. I'm chilling in Los Angeles at my father's house. I'm actually hanging out in his office, hence the background change for those who noticed. It's great. Los Angeles is a beautiful city. Excited to be here, seeing a lot of buds, seeing a lot of family, having a great week. What's up with you?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about working from remote locations is first of all, it's like just a change of pace. And when your friend works from a remote location, your dad keeps Zoom bombing all of our calls. He like comes in a robe at like 6 a.m. He's like, what's up? I love it so much.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I think my dad comes in a little more often than he needs to because he thinks it's really funny.
It is hilarious when your dad just doesn't knock and just walks into the room. And it's even better when you don't see him behind you, but we see him on the Zoom. It's like there's a homicide, like there's a maniac behind you.
It's like, what? What's we looking at?
AJ, turn around. He's coming.
What are you reading this week?
I'm reading a business book per usual. Reading Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last, which is actually genuinely good, at least in the first quarter of the book so far. I'm enjoying it. I really do hate when they use military examples from the military. It's like, yeah, we get it. The U.S. military is very well organized. I'm not going to run my business like the fucking military. So
you don't want to be a drill sergeant?
Yeah, I get that a bunch of 20-year-old men, they all get on the same team and they listen to directions and they do a good job. Like they get the job done and they have exhilarating experiences. Like, yeah, that's not going to happen at our accounting firm. but I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the sentiment. I'm reading a book that you made fun of me for, but it's fine. It's called The Personal MBA.
Oh, yeah. I love seeing that one come across the Amazon purchase list.
Which I probably don't need to read, as a business owner, as a person who loves learning and education. Of course, I've thought about, getting an MBA, and someone told me to read this book. The thesis is basically don't spend $100,000 on an MBA. Just read my book and go to my website. So I'm not really enjoying it very much.
Even better, $60,000 on the 3-week Harvard Business School executive MBA that you pushed. That made it into one of our meetings.
I might be the first 3 weeks of May.
Yeah, what is a $60,000 charge on the
Don't worry about
credit card?
It's podcasting equipment.
Yeah,
state of the art.
Anyone listening to this knows we don't spend $60,000 on this podcast.
Let's get into some IPOs.
Whoa,
you got one here.
No, you're going to skip right over what we're doing for fun. I have a lovely little familial anecdote about how Hibachi.
Wind it back.
That's my sister. My sister I'm at my sister's house in Houston, Texas. Thanks for asking. And we went to Hibachi for my 16-year-old niece and nephew's birthday party. Name an experience that is batting 1,000 like Hibachi is. Have you ever?
One of the best experiences ever.
You can't have a bad time.
No, I had my high school graduation lunch at Benihana. Remains one of my happiest family memories, and to this day. Take
the Disneyland
two divorced parents who hate each other, put them at opposite ends of the hibachi. Everyone's great. Nothing can go wrong when there's a volcano onion.
Choo-choo train.
The shrimp in the pocket is my favorite.
Yeah. I like when they throw the shells in the top of their hat.
Y'all
feel me? Yeah. Never gets old.
Anyways, anything else you want to say about your personal life before we move on to the news?
Let me ponder on it for 30 seconds. Let's get some dead air going here.
Moving on. We've got our IPO watch. You got a spicy, exciting one here for me. What you got, Shane?
Yeah, Samsara. First of all, really cool name. Buddhist reference. How cool are all the IPO or the tech company? You got to give it to the tech company founders for coming up with these names. Samsara is, for those of you that didn't take a detour in college and went down the Buddhist hole, it's the
I know Samsara from the film Crazy Rich Asians, where they go to Samsara Island for the bachelorette party, which
more
is
fun.
off in the Malaysian archipelago.
Which could be commentary on what samsara actually is when you do not focus on reaching nirvana, you are caught in a cycle of not ascending out of the desires of the human body and are thus striving for material possessions, aka Crazy Rich Asians enjoying. Is that where the bachelorette party is?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a great scene. Wait, the bachelor and bachelorette party where they all take helicopters out to the island.
Bachelorette party is on the island. The bachelor party is on the oil tanker in the middle of the ocean.
Both sus experiences.
Sounds like you need a rewatch.
Oh my God. For those of you that don't know, AJ watches Crazy Rich Asians on every single flight that she goes on without fail.
It's just so entertaining. Sometimes you need a break. When you work as hard as we do, sometimes you got to have that thing that just you plug out.
Dead, just unplug from the back of your head like a robot, like an uncharged toothbrush. Yeah. So anyway, it's got a cool name. Founded, I believe, in 2015, so quite a young company. It was priced at $5 billion when it raised its last round in mid-2020. It is now shooting for an IPO, I believe, next week. It is looking to be valued at around $12 billion, fully diluted. It's being underwritten, I believe, by Goldman, amongst a few other banks. It's been growing at 100% for the past few years, 72% year over year from the third quarter ended October 30th, 2021, compared to the previous quarter. That $10 billion valuation puts it at a 22x multiple. So definitely room to reach for the stars from some other software companies, but still a really expensive company compared to the traditional stock market multiples that you'll see from some more traditional firms. One of the other cool things about Samsara is they have a lovely ticker symbol that matches what they do for a business, which you love to see. Ticker symbol you would think would be, I don't know, SMSR or Desire or something that was related to Samsara. I don't know, some other play on things. It's actually IoT, which is great because it is an IoT company, which is an Internet of Things company. So if you ever walked into somebody's house and the front door says front door when it opens up, or you can set your room temperature from, McDonald's or whatever, you can set the AC from a distance. You have a smart home, which benefits from the Internet of Things economy, wherein everything talks to each other in a hardware and software sense. So this company, I believe, has more of a focus on B2B rather than rigging up your home to be a Internet of Things to have a smart home. They do dabble in hardware in addition to their software. They do have SaaS. It's not a full pure SaaS company, though. They do have hardware. They don't break out the hardware sales from the software sales, so we don't know how much of it is hardware sales. But it is spectacularly unprofitable, but growing quite quickly. It's a really
that's just to be clear, that's a growth rate. That's a revenue growth rate, not a profitability growth rate. Just to be clear for everyone, most companies that are going public at these fantastic revenue multiples are mostly unprofitable, right? That's what we see across the board.
Yeah, they're looking to do about $455 million of revenue this year, 113 in the last quarter. I think they're going to lose over $100 million. So they're losing more money than they have in revenue. So that's the beauty of Silicon Valley. It's the beauty of venture capital, baby. Yeah. Shout out to anyone experiencing a liquidity event via Samsara next week. Shout out to the founders. Very young company, just 6 years old and already a decacorn. So lovely. You want to take us into the articles, AJ?
Sure. Yeah, we've got a fun one here in our general culture and financial planning section. Our title of this article is Amazon, Can We Have Our Name Back? And basically this is all of the people named Alexa. We are very close to a person named Alexa. And it is very funny in our Zoom calls when someone says, and then Alexa said, and then the other employees, Alexa bot pipes up and says, what can I help you with? So it's basically saying Alexas want their name back. There's a bunch of kind of sad stories about, I named my daughter Alexa after my grandmother. And there's some data about the popularity of the name. There are 130,000 people named Alexa in America. 6,000 new baby girls were born in 2015 called Alexa, and only 1,300 in 2020. So that's a pretty dramatic drop once the Amazon's Alexa product, reached reached millions of homes is what we're seeing there. So sorry if your name is Alexa. I mean, my name is Allie, and we had, my husband and I were like had problems with like the Alexa piping up, and you have a similar story with.
Oh yeah, mine's extra funny because we have Alexa on our ops team, so I had to change the name to Echo, which is the other choice. But my girlfriend's name is Eckham, crazy enough, so I just unplugged the Alexa.
You should just call it Larry.
Larry, yeah. Can you choose a name at this point?
No, I don't know if you can, because all the programming is built to listen for those specific cues. So that would be a pretty significant code rewrite, I imagine. Yeah.
Well, millennials ruined a lot of things, but Jeff Bezos ruined the name of Alexa specifically. So sorry about that.
He's not a millennial. He's Gen X for sure. Solidly Gen X.
What else could he be? A boomer? What's after Gen X?
Yeah, boomer. Gen X for sure.
Yeah, he's a top tier Gen Xer, it looks like.
The richest Gen Xer, we might say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What's Elon?
Isn't he a boomer? No. I guess that's true.
I don't know, man.
Anyways, some fun news and celebrities and billionaires. Kamala Harris was briefly the first woman acting U.S. president in history.
Boom.
When our current president, President Biden, was undergoing a routine colonoscopy. So due to the 25th Amendment, which says that the president or the vice president shall take over the duties in the event of the incapacitation or death of the U.S. president. That's what happened. So she was the president for what? You're shaking your head.
Finally, a white asshole gets us to a black president, a white female president.
Oh my God. I'm leaving this podcast. I resign. Speaking of presidency, I resign. Oh my God.
I was trying to think of what joke would make more sense. Like, I was going to make a joke about me getting a colonoscopy and you being the chief spreadsheet officer, basically, for just moments. Ooh, spicy. Okay, let's keep moving. I'm sorry. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on for this order? I just thought
this was funny.
Chain of command.
The chain of command. There's a great West Wing episode about this for those fans. Not gonna give any spoilers, even though that show is 15 years old.
Thank you.
But yeah, I thought this was a great story. Anyway, you got some news about the banking news. What's new in the world of banking?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that Kamala Harris thing reminds me of is when Ronald Reagan got shot and he went in for surgery and the doctor was like, "We're all Republicans today, Mr. Reagan," even though he was a liberal Democrat. But anyway, Wall Street Journal has an article about the...
I thought you were going to say Wall Street Jew. I was like, oh wow. That's a good Twitter handle.
Wow. Problematic episode. Wall Street Jew? I'm surely taken.
Anyways.
You want to pause for a second?
Yeah, I gotta go buy a domain name, BRB. Gotta fire up the GoDaddy account.
Right.
Shout out AJ and Shane's drunk GoDaddy website purchasing history.
Dozens of inexpensive.
I feel like it used to charge my credit card like $20 a month, and now it's I get triple digit charges for all the silly domain names I purchased.
Really inexpensive real estate out there available for those that are willing to stake a claim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this article is just a quick commentary on this. This administration is pushing somebody from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Consumer Financial Protection, the CFPB, which was one of the brainchild of Elizabeth Warren. This fellow, Mr. Cordry, I believe Mr. Cordry is an attorney. He was the head of the CFPB for 5 years, and now he's in charge of regulating the banks. So I'm assuming that the banking industry is not too excited about this more left-leaning than typical supervisor of their activities. And just have a comment here that Chase and Bank of America stock have doubled in the past 5 years, while Citi and Wells Fargo, I have an idea why Wells Fargo's stock price has remained flat over the past 5 years, but I haven't seen any strong pressure on the prices after that announcement. He has not been confirmed yet. Just something to watch out for. And you've got a throwback to our intro. We have a BTS article here. Do you
yes. I was embarrassed that I didn't know what BTS stands for, but I've looked it up, and it stands for Bangtan Boys, which I do remember. Which is, they're a Korean group. I love female K-pop groups, not necessarily male K-pop groups. But anyway,
it's the Backstreet Boys of Korea.
Yes, sure. But I mean they're such a global phenomenon. Like their US tours actually drive a lot of their revenue. And the music industry in Korea is highly, highly profitable. And these mega corporations basically create these idol groups or these bands, and then they make billions of dollars for the owners and founders of those companies. But this story is kind of cool because this company, Hybe, which is like the founder and brains behind the group BTS, he actually gave a 1.5% stake in his company to the band. And then they got to split the shares equally. Company goes public. It's doubled its valuation in the past year, therefore making these very good looking singing and dancing boys a whole lot richer. So a really nice story that combines two of my favorite things, which are K-pop and equity compensation.
Cool. Right on. You've got the fallout from the Better CEO. There's so many Betters in the tech world. Did people just make Better a prefix for everything relevant to their? I thought this was Better Health, the tech.
Let's disrupt. Let's disrupt. Let's call our next company Mediocre.
No, Best. Best FI. We could change
Mediocre FI.
If we ever change it from Brooklyn to BKFI, we have to use a Better for the. What would the K be? Better knowledge FI.
For individuals.
Gross. All right. So yeah, I actually watched this video. I just saw this right before we started recording where he said that he was going to cry when he announces.
I did not watch the video. I just read about it. A lot of people have been talking about it. Look, getting people laid off, like people getting laid off it's sad for everyone. It means the company is not doing well, needs to make changes. It's really hard for the people doing the firing. I'm not defending this guy for the way that this was carried out, but it is a very hard thing to do, to fire employees that you have hired, nurtured, invested time and money and training in, just to say like, hey, numbers didn't work or you're not right in this role. This is a pretty extreme example of this. For those who are not familiar, CEO of Better, over a Zoom call, fired, it's about 15% of their workforce or 900 employees, and basically just said, you're fired. Sorry, your employment ends after this call. So I'd imagine it would be pretty brutal and traumatic to be on the other end of that news. Anything else he said in the video?
I mean, it's really hard to fire 900 people one-on-one. But no, he kind of does the Gavin Belson thing where like he talks about how bad he feels. Like he makes it all about himself. It's like, I almost cried when I found out that I had to do this and I feel so bad, but I have to lay off. If you're on this call, you no longer work at the company. Essentially how it went down. And it's terrible for not only those reasons, but also it's just before the holidays, which is terrible. And also they just received a $7 billion cash infusion via SPAC. So they have the cash. I guess they were.
Wait, was the SPAC successful? I thought that was.
I think they're experiencing a giant cash infusion. So, I mean, if you work at the company and you hear about that and then you get laid off, I think you're pretty pissed off. So, definitely not the best PR look in terms of timing.
I was thinking about this as a former person with a toe in PR. Like, how do you spin this? Like, there's no positive way to write a story about the way that you had to fire 900 people. Other than, although I did read an article that he kind of has a history of this in that there was an email leaked from about a year ago where he called all the employees dumb dolphins who needed to wake up and get with the program to bring the company forward. So how is dolphin a? That insult didn't make any sense to me because dolphins are really smart, right?
Yeah. Maybe that's like his word for, he's replaced the word for like monkeys just to be less problematic.
Maybe there was context there that we didn't know about. You never know.
Do we have any words that we switch out for anyone?
Well, we started a new thing last week, I think, where if we make an investment in a piece of software or a tool and it doesn't work out, we just call it an expensive sandwich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because sometimes you make investments in things and they don't work out and you cut your losses and move on. And so yeah, we've experienced some pretty expensive sandwiches.
Yeah.
This year.
For
sure.
We've eaten some shit sandwiches this year for sure. All right. I've got another. I know y'all are waiting for another tax article, so I got one for you. A CPA practice advisor here is commenting on some items in some new bills that passed Congress recently around $600 transaction. You might have noticed that Venmo has an overhaul to its interface. There's Bitcoin available within there. There's also business accounts available within there. One thing that the Congress is pushing is notation on any time there is a transaction of $600 or more going to business accounts. So if you have business accounts or you're using PayPal or Venmo to do business, anything in excess of $600 will likely be reported to the IRS. So I do not expect that. The old threshold for reporting it to the IRS was 200 transactions or $20,000 in total. It's now just $600. So if you had a side gig selling things on Craigslist for like $3,000 a year and you never reported that to the IRS because you never got a tax document, first of all, you were evading taxes historically. Wink, wink. But second of all, you will now be getting a 1099 from those jurisdictions or from the people that paid you. Or Venmo specifically and PayPal actually handle the issuing of those 1099s, and they will be also sending those to the IRS. So just a heads up there.
Can't wait for all those extra 1099s this year.
Yeah, can't wait for all the small side gigs that were suddenly founded in 2021 when they get the 1099s that have been going on for decades. Yeah, so moving along, we've got 4 tax articles here, actually. You've got this one on the NASPP, the National Association of, I forget what this stands for.
Yeah,
Stock Purchase Plan?
National Association of Stock Plan Professionals.
There we go.
Of which I am a proud card-carrying member. Shout out NASPP. I made a new friend in the NASPP last week. Shout out John. We had a great chat, a great webinar last week on equity compensation. This is just to rehash the Elon Musk selling all his shares, and basically that this article from the people who basically design and write these stock plans are urging companies not to give out these mega grants. And mega grants meaning don't give a founder 10 million shares because it's just going to create tax problems and they're going to hoard ownership. Give it out in smaller tranches or restructure your ownership so they don't have strict stock options is basically what this article is saying. Rethink that. Elon had to exercise and sell a couple $1 billion of non-qualified stock options this year because they were about to expire. Wonder where he's paying those taxes. We've talked about that a lot in the past before.
In California? What do you mean where?
Didn't he try to escape and move to Texas? Wasn't that his whole plan?
Yeah, but you and I know because we know that you can't just move to Texas and get away from the old state. That he will have the grant of the complexities of getting away take many years, but he will have eventually anything granted at this point he was going to be granted tons of stock over the next 20 years of his life. Will not be subject to California taxation. Right.
Shane, what I'm scared about is the future of equity compensation and this concept of where were you when you earned the equity compensation. So we see people working from all over the country. If you moved out of New York in 2020, moved to Texas in 2021, got your RSU grant, you're there for a few months, like the complexity of trying to source equity compensation across the states is about to get a whole lot messier, in my opinion.
You and I experienced it with 2020 tax returns. It was a fun year for sourcing of income across multiple jurisdictions as everyone essentially hit the ground running as soon as COVID happened, because most of our clients have the ability to decamp and explore alternative options besides New York City and San Francisco. And it's only getting more interesting. Yeah. Cool article. I have a fun one here in tax policy land. We use taxes to boost people up and also bring people down in terms of, people's socioeconomic status. We have a progressive tax system, which means that the more that you earn, supposedly the more in taxes you should pay, which is redistributed to other folks within our society. And our poorer individuals, we have the earned income tax credit that boosts folks with low income and families up out of poverty, which is a great thing, right? If you have low socioeconomic means, redistribution of wealth gives you an opportunity to pull yourself up out of there. I was browsing Reddit one night and there was just this article about, of course, young single men posted an article from the congressional budget.
Am I invited to your pity party?
Yeah. I mean,
my invitation must have got lost in the mail.
I find it interesting that, I mean, there is a lone group of people that are taxed into poverty, which is you were not in poverty before, and then you are taxed into poverty. And that's childless single people. If you earn like 25,000 or 20,000, you can be taxed down into poverty if you don't have a child, which I find funny and interesting.
But just to break that down a little bit in terms of like what that actually means. When we're talking about poverty, we mean the federally described poverty line.
A quantitative description of poverty in the United States.
So what's happening here mechanically is if you don't have a child, you wouldn't get the $2,000 tax credit, which would which would have you're paying less tax. Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, right. It's
so basically, if you
terrible,
if you wanted to get a $2,000 credit, you just have a kid, throw them on the return.
You can, yeah. I mean, that's terrible advice, but it is interesting that having a child means you get boosted out of poverty.
Hot tips here at the Liquidity Fed podcast.
Yeah. If you're struggling or if you're right on the poverty line, here's what you need to do. Can you find someone close to your I've got a cool article that I don't think that we have time for. That's an in-depth self-directed IRA article that we'll save for next time. I have a quick one on IRS their CryptoSeizures. The IRS seized $3.5 billion worth of cryptocurrencies in fiscal year 2021. It's not even over yet, which accounts for 93% of all assets seized by tax enforcement. What?
That's crazy. These numbers are staggering.
$3.5 billion. So essentially crypto, I mean, it's untraceable. It's on the chain. It's the whole point is it's decentralized. Apparently it's being used for ransomware pretty often, and it's being re-seized by the IRS to the tune of 95% of all seizures come from cryptocurrency. So while there is no value in cryptocurrency, I'm not saying that there is no value in crypto. One of the apparently high value uses of it is for nefarious acts, according to the IRS. We've got 3 articles. A ship's captain died at sea. He spent like 6 months in a freezer bouncing around the world before his family could get him home to Croatia, Bulgaria. Yikes. That's terrible.
Very sad.
Yeah, we got this cool article about from the Wall Street Journal about how we now have something from a science fiction movie. The NASA Planetary Defense Mission aims to push a distant asteroid off of its path. $324 million Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, a practice run for future efforts to protect Earth from collisions with asteroids, launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 at 1 in the morning from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Next fall, a journey of more than 6 million miles, the probe will crash at 15,000 miles an hour into Dimorphos, a tiny moonlet that orbits a larger asteroid called Didymos. What kind of sentence is that? Space Force, so DART, California
Didymos,
launch, Falcon 9.
Dimorphos.
Wow. Yeah, some Greek stuff happening here. Omicron.
I mean, I just love this stuff. I love space. I love science fiction. When I was in Israel, I remember seeing the Israeli missile defense system, which is called the Iron Dome.
Yeah,
you can actually see it. It's just like, it's mind blowing. You know, someone who's been reading science fiction since they were 6 years old, like to see it in real life and come to fruition is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, cool. We have a little bit more time left. You want to do a crush?
Sure. I have a interesting CEO crush of the week. Her name is Lindsay Snyder. She is the CEO of In-N-Out Burger, a very LA themed CEO crush of the week. She's 39 years old. She owns almost 100% of the company because it was actually founded by her grandparents in the 1930s, I believe.
Wow.
Which is cool. She's had kind of a sad life. There seems to be a lot of tragedy, personal tragedy in the family. Lindsay herself struggled with drug abuse. There's been a lot of family deaths related to abuse in her family. So a lot of her money, she's well into her billions. She's a multi-billionaire. She has a nonprofit organization that helps those who are struggling with abuse. And in order to raise money for that nonprofit, she actually plays bass in a band that does a lot of charity shows. So that's why she piqued my curiosity. She also has a 99% approval on Glassdoor.com. So shout out Lindsay Snyder, my CEO crush of the week. And that's the show.
We have like
that's the show.
That's a Kendall Roy situation there, is what I'm seeing. There's a female Kendall Roy.
Little bit.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Liquidity Event. You can email us at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. You can find us at brooklynfi.com/episode 20. See you next week.
Bye.